Welcome back to the United Stand. Hit the like button right now. Make sure you're subscribing. A number of things to talk about, and I'm glad to be back. And I've had a week or so away. I went very well, but I'm back. I'm raring to go. We're talking Mbeumo and the frustration surrounding this deal. An article from the Evening Standard has frustrated a lot of people, and there's a lot of frustration in the Man United fan base right now. And I understand it, but I want to get your views. I want to get your opinions. Of course, I'm going to share mine with you as well. Hello to you, Rob. I see you there. And T, I can see you. Gaz, big up yourselves. Why are you looking? Says Chris Wood. Listen, right now, compared to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I'd take Chris Wood. I would take Chris Wood. If I was told now, you've got to take one of Chris Wood or Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I'm taking Chris Wood every single day of the week. But I don't want either. I want better than that. And it's all eyes on Ineos in relation to this. Hello to Happy Life. Hope you're well. Hello to Mama Flossie. I see you. I see you. My heart is broken is what Man United 2016 says. Why is your heart broken? I want to understand. Break it down for me. Go get Aubameyang on a free. I'm telling you this now, by the way. Timestamp this, please. Everybody who's working behind the scenes on Greg, I think it is. Timestamp this. Because you'll see it in the next 24 hours. Maybe 48. There will be a link of Man United. I don't need earphones because I'm not actually listening to anything. There will be a link, no doubt in my mind, in the next 24 to 48 hours of Man United to Aubameyang. I absolutely guarantee it. There will be it won't be from a Fabrizio or an Ornstein, but you'll get it from the Sun, the Mirror, whatever that Spanish publication is, Fajitas or whatever it's called. They will most definitely, without a doubt, do it. 110%. 110%. But look, you know, they are Joy Boy. They're definitely called fajitas or whatever they're called. Like someone will run it, and rivals will go with it. Like the article this morning. Before we do Mbeumo, like the article this morning. And I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend I'm completely calm. I'm not no longer completely calm because we're getting close to my deadline, which was by the end of the first week or the beginning of the second, whichever one it is, because they're not training over the weekend, so it's irrelevant. If we don't have 3 new signings in, I'm going to criticise Ineos. I am. I'm going to criticise the speed of execution. Doesn't mean I'll write the whole summer off. I'm concerned now about who the number 9 target is. We missed out on Delap. We missed out on Gyökeres. I don't like seeing these links to Calvert-Lewin and Jamie Vardy. But what I will say about the article that's got everybody pooping in their proverbial pants is, and I want to read the line out to you all. And this was where, I'm worried, so don't misinterpret my word. I'm not no silly top red. I know I get called it, but I'm not. No top red would tell everybody to give up their season tickets. But I want to read this line to you, because this line is really important to me. The line says, and I quote, where's it gone? The line says, and I quote, the club have been offered the chance to sign several free agents, Calvert-Lewin, Vardy, Callum Wilson. So you've got to be very careful when you read this. That is the agents of the players saying, our guy is available. If you're interested, let us know. Now, I gave this example yesterday, and I'm going to take a risk of saying this on the United Stand, okay? If I'm walking down a high street in Thailand, and I'm not going to do the example, I'm not going to do it here. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to give a better one, right? If I'm walking down the street, or if I'm at a bar, or if I'm at a nightclub, if I'm at work, and a lady comes up to me and says, I'd like to go out for a drink. I'd like you to come back to my place. I'd like to, a bit of wham bam ham, right? If I say, thank you for the offer, but I am taken, I'm not a cheat, am I? I haven't cheated on my partner because somebody's offered me a little bit of sugar. Because somebody wants to do the horizontal hula with me, if I've said no to it, I'm not a cheat. So for me, I'm not angry at Man United per se when it says they've been offered these players, because that's not our fault, right? It then says it is expected that United would only advance on these deals, if at all, towards the end of the window if they do not get any of their top targets. And that's the thing for me. If we end up going for a Callum Wilson, going for a Dominic Calvert-Lewin, it's because we haven't been able to target players that want to join us. That is the failure, not so much these players being offered to us. So for me, like, wham bam, is it wham bam, thank you ma'am? See, I heard Stallone say wham bam ham once, and it stuck with me, right? But anyway, so I get the frustration. I'm starting to get annoyed. I'm different from some people. I'm the same as others, I suppose. I've understood all along that this summer could go wrong. My view is to not moan about it every day. Mainly, it's a very personal thing. People have taken it very personally, their end. Well, I'm not like that. Well, that's fine. I'm not asking you to be like that. For my own health, I can't be angry every day over something that hasn't happened yet. I can't do it. If you choose to do that and you end up being right, I will make you a certificate if you want one. It'll be great. But this story is concerning if we don't land our targets. If the one fear I have right now is I have, the same as you, no real idea about who we're going to go for next. Ollie Watkins would be my best educated guess, who I think we may turn our attentions to in the striker market next. But that remains to be seen. That remains to be seen whether it's him. Moises Keane we're linked to today. Listen, of all of those mid players that we don't want, he's the best on that list. But look, we will see how this transpires. Who am I? See, unsung hero. If you don't know who I am, one, that means you don't watch enough United Stand. Two, that means how can you not have heard of the Football Terrace? As arrogant as that sounds, come on now. Nearly 500,000 subs. I'm Terry, by the way. Nice to meet you. The summer is not going well to the expectations we've had. That is a great point. Love it. Love you. No baby oil, but love you, right? I'm gonna go to this. Leave that up on the screen for me, bro. I'm gonna go back to that super chat in a minute, Greg. Thank you. Whose expectations? See, for me, so far we haven't done that much outside of my expectations, barring getting the 3 players in for very early in pre-season. We're probably going to get 2 of the 3 I wanted. But I'm not unhappy that we haven't sold Sancho and Anthony at a loss, because that would be irrelevant. It means we can't spend the money. I'm happy that we are fighting hard to get terms in our favour. I want us to be a menace. I don't quite mind the deal's being delayed by a few extra weeks if we're getting the best deal possible. Remember, Fabrizio said this on the 4th of June, that the starting price from Brentford is £70 million. The tweet, in fact, I'll find you the tweet, because I was looking at it just the other day, right? I'll find the tweet and I'll post it for you in a minute in the link. But started at 70 million plus. We're probably going to bring this in at a base of around 60 plus a bit. Payment terms, let's see how they work out. Are they in our favour? Because I want us to be a menace. I don't want us to roll over and have our bellies tickled. So again, I'm not saying you're wrong, by the way. You may have your expectations, T. You're one of our members here, may be better than mine. Very open to that. I'm not arrogant enough to believe the way I view the world is the best. People think that about me, but that's because they don't have the intellect to have a conversation. But for me, my expectations haven't been destroyed like others. I also knew that things like this would happen, that we wouldn't get everything done. It would be hard to sell players. It would be a tough slog in the beginning of trying to re-establish ourselves in the transfer market, at the very least, at not being a pushover. This is why, and you know I've been saying this consistently on here since February, this is a 3 to 4 year process of fixing us. It was never going to be fixed quickly. However, that doesn't mean I won't criticise a bad signing. If we lose a negotiation, I'm telling you now, if we let the likes of Sancho go, we're paying his wages and we're losing money, I will flip my lid. That would be an atrocity from Ineos. I'm happy to say these things. I would like to see United sign Samu from FC Porto. Samu Amarodium. Yeah, listen, he was linked to Chelsea last year. I've only watched him play 3 or 4 times since then. Very good. Could become a very good striker. Light years ahead of the other names we're linked to, outside of Ollie Watkins and Mateta. But Mateta's name hasn't really been mentioned with any real potency now for, I would say, about, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind a bit of Samuel Amarodium. I like him. He was powerhouse against us in the Europa League last year. He really, really was. Go get Matteo Retegui. So underrated, yet better than all our striker targets. We have Tom Little on my channel, The Football Terrace, who speaks about him on a very, very regular basis and rates him highly. He really, really does. We have another super chat here. This is from Jay Bingnall that says, who is the source for the Brian Mbeumo update? Romano hasn't said anything. Well, you make us digress with perfect timing, my friend, to that story. Now, the journalist I've never heard of personally, or maybe I have and I've forgotten because I do a lot of covering of transfers, but his name is Sam. The surname is so hard for a dyslexic, but Tabuchu, I probably butchered it, but Sam is his first name for the Evening Standard. And what's very interesting is I've seen a lot of big Man United aggregators state or phrase it like Mbeumo is frustrated at Man United. It says Brentford are frustrated at Man United. So it goes on to say this. Brian Mbeumo is growing increasingly frustrated as Man United weigh up their third bid for the Brentford forward. It says Mbeumo has made clear he wants to join Man United, but United are yet to agree a deal with Brentford, who want more than 62.5 million they paid for Matheus Cunha earlier this summer. United have made 2 failed offers for the 25-year-old, and both Mbeumo and Brentford have become frustrated at the slow progression of the deal. Brentford holding firm over their asking price and are open to other offers for Mbeumo as United deliberate their third bid. Now, there's a bit of scaremongering or fearmongering. People in different parts of the world say that word differently. It means the same bloody thing, so let us not nitpick. But they've tried this before, Brentford. Other clubs are interested, but Mbeumo doesn't want them. I want Brentford to be frustrated. I want them to walk away going, bloody hell, that was hard. Because Man United are pushovers. The biggest example of being a pushover, look at Maguire. Not only did we pay top whack, we agreed to pay it in a lump sum. Do you know how damaging that Maguire deal, forget Maguire the player, the deal, the finances behind it, the precedent that was set, that deal was a killer for us. A killer. Goes on the article to say that Brentford are looking for a fee in excess of 63 million and have been encouraged by the fees touted for Noni Madueke and Anthony Elanga in recent weeks, believing their valuation is not only fair but perhaps lower than the market value. Chelsea value Arsenal target Madueke for 50 million, etc., etc. The article doesn't say much more after that. Oh, no, it does go on to say the Brentford director of football, Phil Gill, said last week that he could envisage Mbeumo staying. Again, more public negotiations. Nothing else much in there. It says Mbeumo still expects to leave Brentford and join Captain Norgard and long-standing head coach Thomas Frank on moving away this summer. What I will say is this. The way this has been put out by a lot of aggregators is very much Mbeumo is angry or frustrated at Man United. Nothing in the article says that he's frustrated at Man United. It doesn't even say Brentford are frustrated at Man United, but why would they not be? They're the ones we're negotiating with. But again, as much as I want the player in today, I want us to be more frustrating. Whenever you try and buy a player from a Brentford, whenever you try and buy a player from a Brighton, whenever you see Liverpool entering into a transfer negotiation, you see the same thing on a very, very regular basis. And that is, this is going to be hard. They're notorious for making it difficult. They drag things out. They nearly always win or get what they want or close to it. And at the same time as we hear that, I hear Man United fans say, I want to be like that. I want to be like Liverpool. I want to negotiate like Liverpool. Do you know why Liverpool negotiate well? Consistency of approach. They make every single transfer in and out difficult and have done since FSG arrived, especially when they're under the stewardship of Edwards. On a regular basis, they do it. And it is frustrating at times. And I get we feel like we've got to do double that of everybody else. I get the notion we've got to buy double the quality, double the speed. Better, we've got to do better because they're ahead of us and we've got to catch them. Well, look, the guys that are leading the pack are leading the pack. They may get a little bit better this year potentially. But there's only so much more they can improve. We will close the gap on them from last year season to this season, in my personal opinion. But the idea that we've just got to buy, we're not going to buy much better players than them because of where they sit. It's why this process is going to take 3 to 4 years. And it doesn't matter whether Ineos are our owners, whether Qatar buy us next week, the Saudis get us, whatever we do. Elon Musk, Donald Trump, I'm just thinking of rich people, Richard Branson. It's all going to take a long time because of where we sit. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't criticize. And this is the problem with these conversations. There's no nuance. Everything's anger and polarized, and I get the frustration. But for me, I don't want us to yield on the way we're negotiating. Would I like us to win the battles and the deals to come in quicker? Yes. But not at the behest of being seen as pushovers. Because we've done that for 12 years, and look where we are. My view may be different to a lot of yours, and I respect that. But I look at it this way. Every successful business I've ever worked for, visited, or studied, every department works well. I went to work as a consultant in the private bank sector of a really, really big bank for the UK. And I'd worked for another one about a year before. And there was night and day between these two organizations. Every room in this new organization, pristine. Every office clean, every bin empty. You went to the gym and it was immaculate. You went to the canteen, perfect. Everybody that used to have to sit, was customer facing, had like a PA or a team of PAs that would manage diaries. These PAs were the best I've ever seen in my life. Your whole day was organized to within an inch of your life. Right down to if you were about to go out, you had to travel across London for a meeting. They would be checking the weather forecast in case you didn't, with an umbrella to hand you, or this to give you, or to remember this. They would come into you and say, look, you put your notes in the system, we've reviewed them. Remember that you're going to see Mr. Stavros. Mr. Stavros' daughter's name is Nikki, and she started at this dance club. And they were impeccable. And this is how the whole operation run. And every year this bank made profits, and it grew, and it did brilliantly. But it was a lesson for me as a younger man. Every facet, right down to, as I said, you went into the canteen, it was clean. The food was always nice. The food was always warm. Every department run swimmingly. No wonder the end result, the main target, was to grow its AUM, that's assets under management. They did it every year. The growth was not clockwork, some years bigger than others, but always growth in there. And that is what I want Man United to do. And I don't care whether I want it if I get the deal a week later, 2 weeks later. Now, I don't want it to get deep into pre-season. So there is a cut-off point before anyone says it. But I don't want us to just go, all right, Brentford, there you go. Do you know what, Juve? Have Jadon Sancho. We'll pay half his wages. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Do you know what? Barcelona, you can have Rashford. Don't worry about 40 mil. Pay us 20 mil and we'll cover 100 grand a week on his salary. Let's just get him done. Let's get him out of here. I don't want to lose these battles because I just think it sends a bad message into the club, into all the other departments, most important one, the football team, that we yield. And if we yield at that level, at board level, why won't the players yield on the pitch? Why won't they? And I know it's frustrating, and I get it, and I don't think you're wrong for being angry. There's something in my gut that tells me this isn't about being slow. It's about setting precedents. I could be wrong. We'll see into it. We won't know for a few years, all right? And I'll hold my hands up if we're not. But there we go. That's my view on it. I don't think Mbeumo is frustrated with Man United. I don't think Mbeumo is thinking of cancelling the deal or walking away. Man United, according to Fabrizio Romano, and I'll go and get the date on that. I'll go and get the date now, right? Let me go and find that date when you put it out. And I'll put the link in the chat. So I'm not making this up, right? And maybe he's clarified it since. But this is what I've gone on the whole time, right? Let me just try and find it here. Sorry, people. I've got to search this because he definitely tweeted it. Blah, 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 blah. Here we go. I'm going to post the link, right? Because this is what he said, and this is what I've been working off ever since, and I haven't changed my mind on this. I put the link. You'll see it from my channel, The Football Terrace, in the chat. Hopefully they show links here. I'm sure you can. And it says, Man United have submitted a 45 million plus 10 bid for Mbeumo. Negotiations started as per Ornstein's report. Brentford ask for a fee close to what they paid for Cunha, starting from the 70 million with a possibility to negotiate. That is what it said. Starting at 70 million with the possibility to negotiate. So if we end up walking away paying 60 plus, we've taken £10 million off the asking price. And for me, I won't be embarrassed by that. I'll put the link in there. You can read it. That is what was stated by Fabrizio. He's also said that Ornstein has said this. I haven't checked Ornstein's article. And all I remember from me and every Man United fan, read under the post, how angry we all were with paying 70 million. Yes, I agree with you. I'd love Mbeumo in there today. The pictures were all going, yes, let's go. I'd love it. But I don't want to lose this battle. I want to win it. I really want to win it. You know, that's my view. You may see it differently from me. I appreciate that. I understand it. Give me your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. And get hitting that like button as well, please. Get hitting that like button as well. This here says, breath of fresh air. Agree with everything the host is saying. Look, I will say this now. This whole Ineos rebuild, the summer, the preseason, there is nuance involved. And this is about grown-ups having conversations. And, you know, me and Goldbridge, we see this differently. But we've had conversations privately and on air. We both see each other's views. And that's what's important here. Don't start fighting with other Man United fans, getting into Barneys, letting rivals manipulate the situation. For me, that's crazy. I will be frustrated that they haven't been able to get 3 deals in by the beginning of the second week of training. I will. That being said, that doesn't mean I'm writing the whole summer off, because you might get the 3rd signing 2 days later, okay? Which isn't perfect, but it's better than 2 weeks later as an example. But the players being sold, that for me is the key here. We always knew we needed to sell before we buy. And the reason why I'm keeping my powder dry is this. This is the reason for it. People think you're being a top red. Oh, you're doing it to make the top reds like you. The top reds hate me. They hate me because I went on a 2.5-year campaign. I was wrong for this, by the way. I called everyone a glazer that was giving the club money. I said, you're just a glazer if you buy shirts, go to games, etc. It's because I was angry at how my club was being treated. I've took a back step since, and I'm going to come to these other super chats in a minute. I'm very sorry that I've missed them. I will come back to them, I promise. I took a back step, and do you know what? There's no point me calling other Man United fans out. That was ridiculous. That was immature. That was stupid of me. It wasn't the death threats, I can assure you. They didn't bother me too much because they're just threats. What's a threat, right? For me, I realised you don't win hearts and minds by putting people's backs up. You really, really don't. So I'm no top red. By any stretch of the imagination, people can throw that ad hominem attack at me if they want, but it doesn't make sense. I look at this summer window, and this is why I'm relaxed. I've been making notes on this, right? So go back to April. The narrative was Man United were going to copy Chelsea and only buy kids. Do you remember those stories? And everyone was going mad. That hasn't happened, okay? There have been varying reports. 1 minute we're keeping Rasmus. He wants to stay and we're keeping him. We think he can develop. Everyone goes mad. Then Laurie Whitwell says, it's highly likely Rasmus leaves this summer. Everyone's quiet. Then there's a report he doesn't want to leave, and everyone gets angry again. You know, we've done the Mbeumo deal, 70 million starting price. That is what I read. I trust Fabrizio Romano on this news, and I'm sticking to it. I also trust Ben Jacobs, who has been consistent on this deal from day one, that the last couple of weeks is nothing to do with the price. It's more to do with the structure. And Man United are pushing hard to get it in at least a position that we favour and we like, because we don't do that enough. And do you know why it's important? People, please, please, please hear this. You don't have to agree, but hear it. The reason we have no money is because we consistently overpay and have bad structures. So we run out of cash. And I did the maths on this yesterday. We have spent an estimated £1.68 billion on players since Sir Alex Ferguson retired, okay? We are aiming to get around 15% off of this deal. 15%. If we were to have saved around 15% on average across all those deals, so some less, some more, but on average 15%, there'd be over £252 million left in our bank account right now. We wouldn't have these money problems this summer if we'd have just stuck to this simple principle. Plus, if we'd have had a set style of play, better scouts, better negotiators, we probably could have brought that down. But we probably should have spent £500 million less in the last 12 years, which would give us such a massive cash reserve that we'd never have financial problems. How do we fix the financial problems? By negotiating properly. I've thought about this long and hard in the last week. This is what I've been asking for 12 years. Negotiate better, get the right price, take your time, squeeze every penny out of it. I've been asking for this. I would be a hypocrite to then just go, no, don't want it because I want the players quickly, so that rivals don't laugh at me for taking so long. I want the right profile, followed by the right price. Third in line for me is the timing. Now, of course, I know what your challenge is going to be. I know. I do this too much. But what about if it's... Of course, I don't want it to be the final day of the season, pre-season. I want the players in early. So the utopia is all of them in for the right price, the right profiles early. Of course. I want that. But who believed we were going to have a utopian summer? Like, if you've set that as the standard, fine. That's on you. I think you've set yourself up to be angry. For me, the right player followed by the right price is key, which is why I'm far more angry at the links to Dominic Calvert-Lewin than I am how long it's taken to get Mbeumo. The same as I'll rather wait, okay, until deadline day to sign Šeško or to sign Ekatike rather than sign Jamie Vardy for free today because it's a player, it's a body. The right profile is more important than the timing. And we all know that's true. Because we can have Dominic Calvert-Lewin today, but you don't want him. You want the right guy, right? So, look, I hear the frustrations. I hear the complaints. I'm not saying you're wrong. Let's go to some of these super chats here. This is, do you think... who? I don't even know what that word means. I can't read that word. Should give Onana a chance. Veto see if he can progress this season. Do I think Onana should be given a chance? No, I don't. I think we should be buying a new goalkeeper. I think that, again... Now, here's me, the other side of the coin, okay? The non-top red Terry. I do not think for a single second we should be giving Onana. It will be a horrendous decision to not buy a new goalkeeper. He is not good enough. I believe his confidence will be shot. I know everyone saw him driving into training with a smile on his face. That doesn't bother me. A man is allowed to smile, right? It doesn't trigger me at all. But again, why haven't United got a new goalie? Why hasn't Rasmus been moved on? A lot of people want that. If we sell them too cheaply, we lose money. If we lose money because of 12 years of the irony, 12 years of fans going, it's not my money, I don't care, spend what it takes. That attitude, that cavalier approach is why we can't do what you want now. And we do this a lot in life as people. Everything's sort of spend today, regret it tomorrow. You know, live today and like it's your last day on earth. No, don't do that. Bad advice. Bad advice, because you'll regret it in a month. If you live a month like it's your last day on earth every day, trust me, in a month, you're going to regret it. But more than likely, you're going to regret it. Go, oh my God, the credit card bills come in. Can't afford the mortgage. There's no food for the kids. The dog's starving hungry. The boiler's broke down. I got no money. I shouldn't have spent it all. That's how we've operated for 12 years. Mental. It's radio rental. It is. How can you negotiate properly if the club is all in on one player? See how Arsenal negotiated both Gyökeres and Šeško and ultimately got a good deal. It's a really, really good point there. Berta is a little bit of a maverick. And what's really funny is my channel, The Football Terrace, covers multiple clubs. You should have seen the amount of gooners that hated that approach, said it was embarrassing. Why are we doing this? It's crazy. So I hear you on that. Maybe it would have been better off. This is what you're asking for, though. So you're asking for speed. That would have been no Cunha at this point. And maybe we try negotiating a better deal with Wolves, where we'll pay a little bit more and we'll spread the cost and we've got to keep it going. That is what that would have meant. Now, it's very hard to do it with Cunha because of the buyout clause. So it's a bit of a poor example, but I'm using it because it's the player we went after, right? So I do understand your point. But according to Fabrizio, 10 million or so has already been taken off, my friend. It's about the payment structure now, and we want to get it to a level that we're happy with. And I'm fine with that. The only time it starts to become frustrating is if you're eating too much into pre-season. And for instance, we want to pay 10 million a year. They want 12 million a year. You get to a point where you're like, okay, I think we've stood our ground enough. We need the player in now for footballing reasons, and you get it done. So again, that is where I start to agree more with the people that are frustrated when we eat too much into pre-season. If United doesn't sign a striker, would finishing in the top four still be possible? Very difficult to finish in the top four with a striker. When you look at what Arsenal were doing, City, Liverpool, Chelsea as well. However, I would say we've got 40 million for a striker and we're looking at Keane or we're looking at Calvert-Lewin. I would rather not sign a striker. And I would rather take that budget and go, we were going to buy a 40 million pound midfielder. Let's put it all in and go and get Belieber. We were going to buy Belieber and a second-choice goalie and keep Onana because we had no money left. Okay, well, let's replace Onana with somebody much better. So for me, again, people talk about, like, we've got to be more like Liverpool, we've got to be more like City. Do you know what these clubs typically have done in the last 10 years? Is they won't buy a player if they fall below a certain standard just to fill a hole and say, we've got legs. They'll move on to another department, or they'll wait. They'll save the money and go, well, we're not buying the striker this summer. We'll save the cash and we'll wait for the right target. The issue, again, this is the issue I have. We all want what the most current successful clubs have got, but we're not willing at times to go through the pain their fans had to go through to get there. And we all want the end result, and I get it. But you have to look into what those clubs went through. How many Liverpool streams I hosted where Liverpool fans are angry about the actions of their summer or their January. Right now, everyone's going, that's best in class. That's how you behave. Well, how'd they get to that point? Why do they have so much money to buy 3 players so quickly? Because they didn't spend a penny last year. What would you have all said if we didn't spend a penny last summer? What would you have all said? You'd have gone mental. You've got to think outside of the here and now sometimes. Again, let me reiterate. Buying Calvert-Lewin is no good. I'll criticise it. Getting the players too late in the window, especially if we don't win the negotiations, I'll criticise it. Sell players at a loss, I'm fuming. Buy players massively overpriced, I'm fuming. Get bad payment terms, along with all of that, I'm done with Ineos. Done with them. Absolutely. I personally think Cunha will play striker, Xerxes and Ahmad will play in the 10 role. We won't sign anyone else besides Mbeumo. You don't think we're signing no one else all summer other than Mbeumo? Wow, that is a big claim. That is a big, big claim. Does anyone else agree? Does anyone else see a world? Chris here doesn't think we'll sign anybody else. Let me know. Let me know. This here from, I can't read the name. It's in an Asian language, but it says, heard we are in talks with Jamie Vardy. Who has said that? Where's that come from? Let's do some more super chats here. There's quite a few to get through, I think. We're going to go to some more of your comments. By the way, if you haven't hit the like button yet, get that done, please, my people. Let's get that done. I'm going to take a little sip of my drink as well. Get that done, please, my peeps. Terry, what's your honest opinion on where we will be with the team at the start of the season? Keep up the good work. Honest opinion? I think we'll have Mbeumo and Cunha. By the beginning of the season, I think we'll have a midfielder and a striker. I think we'll have at least 4 deals. The one I'm most nervous about at the moment is the goalkeeper. For some reason, that one's just starting to... You know that feeling when you go out and you think you've left the iron on, or you've left the window open? That's the feeling we get in the back of my mind about the goalkeeper. I don't know who we're going to get in those other areas, though. So what I can't do is lie. You know, I don't know the midfielder we're linked with. We've seen links to Edison. Wouldn't mind that. Outside of that, there's barely any links to any midfielder. Now, does that mean we're not working on one? No. Right? That doesn't mean that talks haven't happened, background work is being done. But I do think we'll buy one. The issue that we've got is we've got to sell players. And at the moment, the clubs that want to... This is why it's so hard. The clubs that want to buy our players know that the players are being paid too much for their ability because of the previous regime's management of this club. Legacy issues. And this is when I always know... I don't care about legacy issues. Well, then you're blaming the wrong... I want to see you take a job and pick up all the slack of the previous poor employee and then take the blame for it. I bet none of you would do that. So I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't take the blame. So therefore, I'm not going to behave in that way. It's difficult to know who we'll get. That's the only thing for me, Nick. It's very difficult. Right now, I don't know. I mean, Ollie Watkins would be my best guess at a striker. Midfielder-wise, we could look at Douglas Luiz. I mean, again, I think we need way more than that. But it's a potential option for us, especially with the Sancho deal. But we will see. Let's have a little look here at some more comments. Patrick Lynch put in a super chat. I don't think I read it. If we could put that back in, please, Greg, that would be great. But he says, I agree that the club needs to create better procedures around transfers to rebuild our reputation. However, I still think we need to pay what Brentford wants. And the only one who gets hurt is us. That doesn't change our reputation. So let me read that again. However, I still think we will pay what Brentford wants, and the only one who gets us. So I disagree with that. So I do disagree. You may not win a negotiation in terms of getting every term on your favour, but we already know they wanted 70 million to begin with. Already put the comment out there. It's what Fabrizio told us. People always say, well, why would you trust Fabrizio? Well, I know Mark goes through this. Whenever we post a link from any other journalist, people go, what's Fabrizio said about it? Yeah, in this instance, it suddenly doesn't matter. But it's about how hard you negotiate and how difficult you make it. You earn respect in that regard as well. I don't think I think it does change the reputation. Because the next time Brentford have to negotiate with us, it's like, oh, this is going to be tough. Oh, this is going to be tough. All you need to make sure you do is you don't yield, is that your level of attrition is high. I was very fortunate to do quite large business-to-business sales in my life, and you would often not win. You'd often not win the negotiation. You might land the deal, but you might not get the payment terms you want. You might not have got the full fee that you wanted. You might have sold a product, and maybe you didn't sell every aspect that you wanted, but you put on a good show. You demonstrate your authority. The next time you're in that room, I'll tell you, you start on a better footing each time because you've got a great reputation. I honestly, I would take what I've just said to you there. I would take that to the bank, quite literally. Why do I say this? Just my experience in life. My experience, and anyone who's been a salesperson at any level will understand that. If you do sales to repeat customers, if you go back to the same banks, the same businesses, the same people, once you've sold something once, even if, when I sell phones, you'd have a customer and you try really hard to get them onto the £45 a month contract because the commission was high, right? Nowadays, that's considered like wrong to do, but in 20 years ago, no one thought it was wrong. You try and get them on that deal. Sometimes it was the right deal for them. And then they'd walk in a year later and they'd be like, look, you told me on that £30 a month contract, I'd go over my usage minutes. Because when I used to sell phones, the contracts are terrible compared to now. £30 a month only got you 200 minutes and 100 texts. It was crazy. They'd come in a year later for an upgrade or 9 months later for an upgrade. Oh, Terry, my bill was coming in at about 50 quid. Or it was coming in around £40. I was going over, you were right. And I'd say, well, look, there's this new phone. It's available on the £45 a month deal. This gives you 500 minutes and 300 texts and da-da-da-da-da. But this time, because you negotiated hard but respectfully accepted your defeat, the next time round, you know how easy it was to sell. It was like giving candy to a baby. Giving candy to a baby, right? That's even easier than taking it. Because they got some grip, kids. And this is just why I believe this. Not yes, it's a little bit anecdotal. But anyone who's watching who's been in the sales game, if you don't agree, you must be a bad salesman. So this is why I care about it. And the reason why I care isn't because I want to win the sales battle. We have run out of money so many times because we've overpaid, undersold. And for me, it's one of the most important parts of our club to fix. I stand by it for life. I mean that. Let's go to some more of your comments here. And Mbeumo is too expensive for a one-season wonder. Well, again, if you believe that, then what do you think the club should do? What is your solution to this situation? I'd love to hear from you, my friend. They doing straightforward deals, helped by the fact that the player wants to join because it's United. I still wouldn't say it's straightforward. Thank you, Lou, for that. I appreciate it. 2-in-1. Okay, I don't know what that comment means. 70 million euros probably, and now United will pay 60 million pounds. Huge win. Again, it's not always about how it appears on the outside. I stand on this. Let's see. My theory won't be able to be tested for a few years. And I get I know what the argument's going to be. Well, everybody would have forgot about it by then. No, the internet never forgets. I believe if Man United are hard, resolute, and push in these deals. And we'll see. By the way, my mind may change. When this deal happens, and it will happen in my opinion, and the dust settles, you might find that stories will come out. And if the stories come out that United will be... Because remember, these stories existed. Go back, just Google, like Ed Woodward and Hargreaves. They used to get laughed at. They were ridiculed by the industry. If our new group are being ridiculed and laughed at, and we're behaving terribly, and it's out of line with how other clubs operate, my mind will change. My mind will change with new information and facts. But if what we hear is, United have made it really hard for teams this year and there's this newfound view of respect towards them, then I'll say, well, we're moving in the right direction. I won't get giddy about it. But if in 2 or 3 years' time we're getting deals done quicker and at the right price, then we would have seen the process come alive. People probably won't think back to this moment, but you've always got to look at the origin story for me. Let's have a look at some comments here. From August, the Glazers have the right to compel Radcliffe to sell his stake for a set price of $33 per share. If he fails to match any third-party bid, that might materialise. Well, we'll see what happens there. I don't know much about that, to be fair. We have hope as Liverpool finally won the league after 30 years of ups and downs. Our league title was in 2012. So it's been ups and downs. Well, 2013 was our last league title. But again, you look at Liverpool and how they got to this point. A lot of what I'm talking about is when you read their origin story under FSG, how they got to this point, it was with things I'm talking about. Mbeumo on double Luis, both Prem proven, both players played with Watkins. Or are you suggesting we should start? We won't get Douglas Luis, my friend. Why would Mbeumo cost less than Cunha? Cunha had a release clause and Mbeumo don't. If anything, that would make Mbeumo a dearer player. Yeah, and they wanted 70 million for him to begin with. And there was a few other outlets that said 70 million as well when it comes to Mbeumo. I remember reading it. I think Duncan Castles also said it. And there's also been other reports that they're trying to push the price up in every negotiation. They keep trying to push the price up. So, yeah, I always think as well, we're always drawn to the stories, including me, that best suit the way we view things. But for me, I'm resolute on this. The final price isn't the most important thing for me. It's negotiating well, negotiating hard, and becoming a thorn in the side of our opponents, because we've been too much of a pushover. And the only reason I'm saying that isn't because of this Mbeumo deal and, I'm trying to protect us. Go back and watch my content for the past 8 years. I've said it again and again and again and again and again and again and again. I'm not yielding on it. I'm not yielding on it at all. The same as I've asked for a set style of play. The same as I've asked for the club to build actually, I'll tell you what the biggest bit of news I've heard in the last couple of weeks that worries me is how we're not compelling the youth teams to play how the first team does. That, to me, is a much bigger red flag than a deal taking too long. Because how are we creating a pathway? What does that mean? I'm a little bit uncomfortable with that. I need to probably read a little more into it. That's maybe the most uncomfortable bit of news about Man United I've heard, barring Dominic Calvert-Lewin in the last few weeks. Let's have a little look here. When you finish 14th, no European football, they know we're desperate. Well, exactly. But you can't act desperate. You know? You can't act it as they will keep putting the price up. You know, you've got to sort of start as you mean to go on. Rome wasn't built in a day. I like your perspective, Terry. And look, I will thank you. I will say this. Me and Mark were live on the Football Terrace earlier today. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Me and Mark were both asked a question by a viewer. How long is this going to take to fix? Mark said he's got no idea. And I agree with him. How long is a piece of string? I think if we're doing a good job, and that will include making mistakes, it will be 3 to 4 years until we truly start to see on a consistent basis the fruits of the labour. That's the minimum it will take until you start seeing the fruits of that labour. There are going to be many trials, many tribulations, many, excuse my language, I'm sorry, many fuck you moments where we're angry at our club. It's going to exist. I said last night in a video, if we do sign Dominic Calvert-Lewin on a 3-year deal on big money, that will erode nearly all my trust in Ineos that I have left. Nearly all of it gone. And how can you go from being patient and saying let's wait and see and let's negotiate well because that's such a massive problem. Because that's a terrible decision on every level. Every level. So then my trust drops to a very small percentage. But having said that, it's still going to take 3 to 4 years to fix this. There is no quick fix to the problems we have. It would be different if we'd only been bad for a year or two. It'd be different if we had a financial monopoly over every other club in the league. We don't. The Premier League is unique in that way out of all the other big leagues. Like France, one team has the money. Germany, one team has most of the money. Spain, 2 teams had nearly all the money. Italy, it's 2 or 3 teams with the majority of the money. In England now, you got United, you got City, you got Chelsea, you got Liverpool, you got Arsenal. Spurs have money and elect not to spend it. You got very wealthy owners of Newcastle and Aston Villa as an example. Plus the TV deal money in our country, unlike most others, is spread equally. So everyone's got all this big cash coming in every year. So you factor that all in, it's going to take a long time. That's whether you've got people running it you like or despise. And I feel like people... If we had the Qataris in charge right now and this was going on, I think certain people would be less stressed. And there'd be another group of people that are really angry because they didn't want the Qataris in. I think that plays a part. And, again, I wanted the Qataris. I'm just trying to be as level-headed as possible. There are things to complain about. There are things to be stressed about. There are also other things that I think are right that I don't believe in us getting stressed about. One of them is negotiating hard for deals. One player we not been linked with who could score goals for us is Danny Welbeck. Yeah, like I doubt we would do that, but I do see the logic. I doubt we'd do it, but I see the logic there, my friend. I do. Let's look at some more of your comments here. This is from GGMU, Glory Glory Man United. It says, Glazers used to move slow on transfers, but were quick to agree terms with players. Why offer Mount Sancho Sanchez such high wages? So confusing. Well, yeah, look, I mean, they agreed all those personal terms, but all of those players have lost us so much money and many, many more. So again, I don't want to agree things quickly if it's at the wrong price. I want us to agree things properly. That lack of money now is a killer. That lack of money is a problem. Because what we could do with that extra 200 or 300 million we'd have if we didn't throw away all that money is, and by the way, that percentage I gave you, saving like 250 million, that doesn't factor in probably £1 billion in too much wages we've paid people. We should have so much cash left in this club. It's unfreaking believable. And we don't. And for me, we've got to take care of those pennies. We have to start doing that. And I know people don't like it on the penny pinch. And do you know what's also important? That we strive to save every little penny we can. How disrespectful would it be to the people we made redundant so we could spend this money if we just went, all right, we'll pay maximum price. Okay, Rashford can leave at a loss, so we'll pay him. Okay, Sancho can lose us money. I think it's so disrespectful to what we did, personally. I already looked at that comment there. Let's have a little look here. We won't pay 70 million fixed, maybe with add-ons. I don't think we'll pay 70 million including add-ons, if I'm being honest with you. I really, really don't. But when you consider Newcastle paying 55 million for Elanga, even 63 million for Mbeumo, I think is good comparatively. It's a good deal. Mbeumo will also have an option year extension as well. I reckon you pay 70 million or you don't get him, in my opinion. JD, we'll see, my friend. Terry, do you think the situation we are in now, do you think Amorim will survive? If the summer ends up really badly, so if we end up only with Mbeumo and Cunha, if we go by, there's a super chat earlier, I think from Chris, who said, this will be it. This will be our last signing of the summer. If that happens, the manager's gone by November. He'll be gone by November, in my opinion. Not because he isn't a good coach, but because he hasn't had enough purchases. And that would also erode my trust in this ownership completely. That would be zero. I'd have nothing left. Why? Because if you buy a manager who has a set system and set way of playing, you have to do that and raise the funds and have the money to buy players that he wants. If not, it was a terrible decision. And again, some people will say, Terry, but I called this from the start. Again, I'll get you a certificate. Well done. We all call things from the start. I was telling Man United fans 8 years ago, if we keep buying and selling the way we do, we're going to run out of money. I got told to shut my mouth, right? I'm not asking for a certificate now, right? I'm not asking for a badge. Woo! I got it correct. Look at me, right? But if we do that, that's a much worse decision than getting Mbeumo late. If we don't bring him in 4 or 5 players this summer to fit how he wants to play across the attack and midfield and defence, including the goalkeeper, he could be gone by November. Genuinely could be gone. And I won't blame him. In fact, I think he'd walk, in my view. United need to be ruthless, not just staff, but also players. If they start demanding more wages, it's time to let them go. and relying on a top scouting department to find the right replacements. Rob's, you're spot on. We should be ruthless, but not at the behest of losing money. So be ruthless with the players we're trying to sell. But I'd rather Rashford sit in the reserves and get paid all his money than get the move he wants whilst we're still paying half his salary. Yes, financially, that's a worse decision in the short term. But in the longer term, will save us money. Why? Because if we keep yielding, every little time somebody wants to leave, they'll do that to us. And we'll keep losing money in the longer term. So we have to be ruthless, but don't just give in and lose money. It will ruin us. It has ruined us. It's one of the reasons why the players don't play so hard. I'm telling you now. And when I don't want to sound condescending, it's genuinely not my approach. But for the younger people, you may not see it yet because you just haven't had the life experience. If you work for a company that lets you take the proverbial, lets you take the piss, you cut corners. Oh, I'm close to it in target. Oh, I've got enough bonus, so I'm going to chill for the next week. People do that. If Man United are seen as a club that will yield, that will have its belly rubbed, players, I got away with that one. Wee. Got the pay rise. Now I'm getting a move and they're going to keep paying me. Wee. Why would anyone playing for the club work hard every game? Why would they run for 95 minutes every game and run through brick walls? You're setting a precedent that you're not serious. You're setting a precedent you can get away with things. You know, we've done it with player power. Players can behave badly and it's nearly always the manager that gets sacked. The players, clean slate FC. It's what's put us in the mire. It's what's put us in the gutter. And people can't seem to see it. Everybody thinks it's about our good coach and some good players. It's part of it. But it's the environment and the culture and the attitude internally. So the board and the way we operate is the heart. Don't do this top to bottom thing. No, the heart. If the heart is bad, it doesn't matter if you get your teeth done in Turkey. Doesn't matter if you've got the spray tan. Doesn't matter if you're in the gym and you're slim. If you've got that bad heart, gone. You're out of here. Touching wood, that happens to no one watching, no one in the world. Heaven forbid. But for me, the way we operate in that boardroom is integral. That is why I criticise the things that are wrong. If we let Sanchez go at a loss, I'm fuming. If we buy Dominic Calvert-Lewin, it's a terrible decision. What message does that send to the rest of that dressing room? That we're not serious. Negotiating and getting terms on your side. Fucking hell, they're serious now. They don't normally do that. Normally, rivals are rubbing our bellies. Saying thank you, Woodward. Thank you, etc., etc. That's what they're doing. Fucking hell, we got that player in cheap. We all celebrated last year when players were coming in on £60,000, £70,000 a week compared to normally 200k. Think why you were celebrating that. We've got a few more super chats here. I want to say thank you to everyone who's tuned in, by the way, for this last hour. You're amazing. Love you all to bits. The whole season we talk about Mbeumo and any action not taken. On taking action, we are too slow. That's why we missed Gyökeres. We didn't miss Gyökeres because we were too slow. We missed Gyökeres because he picked Arsenal. We missed Gyökeres and then moved on to Mbeumo because he wanted Arsenal. We were only ever going to spend before selling players circa £100 million, maybe slightly more. The first two players we wanted were Delap and Cunha. Got Cunha, couldn't get Delap. Moved on to Gyökeres. Couldn't get Gyökeres, moved on to Mbeumo. Gyökeres chose Arsenal over us because of where they currently sit, their Champions League situation. The reason we missed out on both Delap and Gyökeres has nothing. You could argue it's to do with Ineos because we had a bad start to last season. Maybe didn't buy anyone in January. We didn't win it. But if we'd have won that Europa League final, if these players would have turned up and won that game, we'd have been in the Champions League. Fabrizio said it. 99% sure that Delap, 99% sure that Gyökeres, they'd have joined us. So I can't blame. We can blame Ineos, maybe. Yes. I can't blame the negotiators of these deals for us not winning a final. So that is part of it. Amorim is partly responsible for that, more for me than the negotiators. So I do disagree with you that we were too slow with Mbeumo. That's why we missed out on Gyökeres. I don't know where that narrative's come from, but I think it's wrong personally, my friend. I think it's wrong. Let's have a little look here. It isn't common sense, Terry. You know it. I know it. It wouldn't. Sorry. I wouldn't. I know it. Wouldn't Wilcott and Barada know what Amorim won't finish higher in the league without signings. Oh, listen, I totally understand what you're saying there. Of course it isn't. If he doesn't get signings, we know they won't. That's why I think the manager would leave. If we get to the end of this window and he's got Mbeumo and Cunha, that's it. I think the manager walks. I think the manager quits. I think the manager rightfully quits and says, screw this. Because it would lack common sense. And if we make a decision that lacks common sense, I'm turning. So this is maybe where people go, top red. No, I'll be against things Ineos do that don't make sense. For instance, massively against keeping Ten Hag. Why? Forget Man United. Forget us for a minute. Look at most regime changes in Premier League history. Just Premier League, because it's the same league. When new owners come in, very quickly they change that new manager. Very quickly. Within the first 3 to 6 months, they often do it. They sometimes wait for the right time. Could be an international break, could be the end of a season. They may give them a little period while they're getting their feet under the table. And we did that February till the end of the season. The mistake was keeping him. That decision lacked common sense because we're going for a complete club rebuild. And the manager and the squad had lost a bit of a connect. And the quickest way to have fixed that dressing room would have been to have got rid of the coaching staff. Forget whether you liked him or not. Start again fresh. New standard, new behaviours with a new person orchestrating it. It's a different mindset for everybody. I criticise that massively because it lacked common sense. It lacked intelligence. It went against the grain to what the other successful teams have done during rebuilds. That's what I mean. We have to look at these things here. Negotiating hard on deals, that's in the wheelhouse. Signing someone like Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I think that goes against it personally, but that's just me. I'm genuinely concerned that we're going into next season with 4 signings at this rate. Yeah, I still think 4 signings isn't enough. 4 of the right signings could help improve us massively, especially with goals. And we had this conversation, Liam, on the United stand a few months ago. We get a good striker like an Ollie Watkins along with Mbeumo and Cunha. The goals can help paper over other squad cracks for the rest of this season. The goals can help us win more games that buy the manager and the guys more time, maybe even a European spot of some sort. And then next summer you go again with another 4 or 5 signings. On average, the top 6 clubs in England only sign on average 5.3 players per summer anyway. That's significant players that cost you over £10 million. So then that's over the last 20 years. So I would want more than 4. But if we're only going to get 4, we've got to complete. Well, say complete, we still need more, but we've got to massively improve that attacking line, I think. But there we go. What's this say here? Mbeumo is the only top player that we will buy in the rest of this window. Anyone else will be bang average to make up the numbers. I mean, again, do you know what? Look, Chris, it's a really fair point. And again, if that happens, I'm going to criticise it. We'll see how that goes. I can't criticise it until I see it because I don't know if it's true. And then you're going to get into a little bit of subjectivity. I'm quite happy with Ollie Watkins at the right price, as an example. I think he could score us 15 to 20 league goals, right? Maybe more near the 15 mark. That's a really good improvement on what we've got at the right price. Do I see us signing a world-class striker? No. Midfield? I'm unsure right now. Depends on the price we can get players in for. Listen, I want to thank every single person, though, that has tuned into the show today. United stand back, of course, 8 p.m. tonight, so make sure you're tuning in to support Mark and the team here. I'm live in about half an hour on the Football Terrace, my channel, if you want to come across and join us. We're talking all things transfers there with LB, who's a City fan, and Aaron, who's an Arsenal fan, and myself. So we're live. So that's 3:45, we're live for that show. But listen, until next time, everybody, look after yourselves, take care, goodbye, God bless, and I'll be seeing you all again very, very